Just give you a little background. You know, from scouting perspective, I was very naive. I think I'll be the first one to say that I had very little knowledge about what the program offered. Thanks to my wife, she was persistent. We elected to stay, and my son was involved in a lot of activities with sports and other things. And I thought, oh my gosh, how are we going to do it? And I really didn't have anything against scouting. I just didn't know how it would fit. There's only 24 hours in a day. So um, through my wife's persistence, we were convinced. And once we started, then I looked at this thing totally different. Just to tell you my background, I own a couple Culver's restaurants, so I'm dealing with, you know, kids in this age group. I have probably over 120 kids that I'm working with, and so I understand the complexity, and I understand now more than ever the importance of scouting, the value it brings to these kids, and I think I don't need to share that with you. I'm sure you're all aware of that. So the question is retention. How do we retain these individuals, these kids, and want them to be a part of it? And I think it's not only educating the kids, but also the adults. And I guess I learned, I'm sure, because of, you know, some of the things that the lack of knowledge I have. And so what we've done is I put a little video together, and I call it Why Scouting, and it's not about our troop. It's just giving people perspective and hearing some conversations about scouts and parents and their perspective. And I just use that as a tool just to get out to other people. And I actually tell them candidly that I'm not looking necessarily for you to come to Troop 218. I'm really looking for you to consider scouting and go check out other troops. My perspective, troops are kind of like churches. You know, you got to find the right fit that works for all of you. I think, you know, again, I think there's a lot of value in today. I just hope that you would be supportive and be willing to share your input. So Jeff, I think his name's Jeff Ross with the Franklin Troop, my son has been involved with at times and gone to summer camp. One of the things I learned from him going there was he has a folder. So when a new scout joins, he has a folder that he hands out to each scout. And I thought that was really neat. It kind of gives them information as well as help the parents along. You know, we have all these acronyms and sometimes we lose the parents and sometimes the scouts, something we're familiar with, but it's overwhelming for them. So we kind of have a folder we put down with some key points of what's important in the scouting process, how the progression goes, where IMR is located, a map, as well as the other places that we normally attend. So it's, I think, very helpful. We also, a couple of things we've done is really worked on when a new scout joins, we have kind of a mentor program. And we have a mentor for the parents. We have a male and female. And then periodically, you know, once a month or so, we're calling the parents to get their understanding, because sometimes the kids aren't saying things, they're kind of shy, they don't want to share, and so we can find out from the parents about how things are going, and we're getting very positive results from that. People appreciate that, and we can address it at an early stage. From the recruitment side, not only do we have the den chiefs that are out there, but we have some assistant scout leaders that are constantly interacting with the packs. What can we do? Is there anything that we can help with? Just making sure they're successful in the program, and hopefully they just keep scouting in their for the kids as they move forward. And it's, you know, in short, been pretty successful in that point. So I guess if I could just go around, can you guys share some things? What are you doing, or maybe more so, what are things maybe from a district or for myself? How can I help you, or what can we do to make your troop more successful? How about if I do this? I'll just pick out some names. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'd like to get your thoughts. Rich, you do a great job. But can you share some thought?
As far as retaining, we really, when we have new scouts in the troop, we always make sure that either a group or individuals will have a kind of a meeting. And usually a assistant scoutmaster will do that during our troop meeting. So when the troop meeting is going on, then they'll go off in a quiet area and then kind of go through everything, go through our whole year, how we do everything, how we handle finances, how we handle paying for outings and stuff like that. And then other than that, I've just always try to be really responsive to any communications I get, any questions I get, any emails, or we have a Facebook page, any posts that parents get, and try to just be right on top of anything that anybody has questions about.
How about recruitment, Rich?
We recruit. We have our pack, so we get boys from our pack, and then lately our recruitment has been from scouts in the troop bringing boys in. So we actually have one brand new one, and he's a boy that lives across the street from one of our scouts. He's a scout from Potawatomi, and it's just a matter of our scout saying, yeah, we did this weekend, or we did this. And his troop, I guess, isn't very active right now. So he's like, yeah, can I come with you? And so he, that kind of happened that way. So he wants to join our troop now because we're doing more than his troop. And then we have another 2 friends of our scouts that are considering joining. So our boys are our major recruiter, which is great. So I think it's the way it should be.
Absolutely. The referral program is probably one of the most important things. I mean, kids will be your best marketing tool if you apply it and handle it correctly.
Yep.
Who else? Joe Morton.
Boy, as far as recruiting adult leaders, our leadership has just been, I won't say outstanding, but we haven't had a hard time recruiting adult leaders. Actually, at this point in time, we have more adults than we do scouts, just because they stay with us so long. As far as recruiting scouts go, over the past 3-4 years, we've done a absolute terrible job, in that most of our scouts have been with us so long they're aging out. So and the 2 packs that we used to have as feeders, I won't tell you how many years ago, but about 6 years ago, both of those packs failed. And so we're kind of on our, I won't say last gasps here, but we have a very few boys left, and they're very enthusiastic, but we haven't had many cubs joining. So that's why I'm listening hard to see if there is an excess, or I'll be quite frank, if there are troops that are yearning to pick up 1 or 2 kids that are mid-career scouting, that may be an option we have to consider before recharter. And I'll pass that on to our scoutmaster. So if there's any advice you can lend, I'm listening.
Yeah, it's challenging now in the packs with resources, but I appreciate your input and your honesty, and hopefully in this conversation, maybe we'll learn something, or some way we can help you, sir. Scott, how about for you?
Yeah, I think we're somewhat in a similar situation as Joe, but we've never had pack ever. And I've been with the troop. If my son's 28, we came over when he was about 12, so it's probably about 16 years with this troop. He's long gone, obviously, but we have a few boys. We have boys. All the older boys are gone. They're aging out. We have another Eagle board we're going to hopefully be having here pretty soon. One that just turned 18. We got his paperwork in 2 days before his birthday, as usual. Two days extra. But finding new boys is becoming more and more of a challenge. It's just and I don't know why. Part of it, I think part of it goes back to the other half of this meeting we're having. I don't think Cub Scout leaders really understand how to direct boys when they get out, when they're done with Cubs, to go look at different Boy Scout troops. And what we see happens is, in the old days when we had a lot more boys, what would happen is one whole group of boys from one pack would all go to one troop. But there's a lot of problems sometimes where either the boys don't get along or the parents don't get along or other thing. And then what happens is, as we all know, some of those boys just quit or their families quit. And when we've had that happen in the past too, sometimes I would reach out to the parents, because I used to be what was called the new parent Sherpa. For a long time I did that job. And if they weren't coming or going, I would just call and ask them. And I say, you know, is it us? Is it, you know, maybe the troop didn't fit? And I would say, maybe you want to just go try another troop if your son really wants scouting. Because I would be, in Boy Scouts especially, I would say not every troop is for every boy, right? Like you said earlier, it's like church. You got to find the one that's right for you. And I think there's this understanding that if you're in whatever pack 1, 2, 3, you go to troop 1, 2, 3, and if that doesn't work, you just quit instead of finding other other troops. And I wish at the Cub Scout level, especially when they start getting the Webelos, that especially like Joe and myself and people that don't have packs, that we could go around to some of the packs that are close by where our troop meets and have those real discussions with parents. And that used to be a little more successful. I think they switched the requirement as you had to visit 2 troops to get an Arrow of Light. And that was one of the best recruitment tools we had, is the Cubs would come one day, the Webelos, and we would have them do an activity with the Boy Scouts. And then the parents would talk with the leaders, right? And I'd have that conversation with them. And I'm like, I'm not gonna be mad if you don't come to my troop. But if you don't give scouting a try, then that's what makes me mad. Or if you come here and leave after 6 months, 9 months, and go to a different troop, I'm fine as long as you don't leave scouting. So I would try to sell the whole experience, right? And have them understand, you know, what's expected and kind of how different troops do different things. We had our troop for a long time. We had quite a people involved in extracurricular activities at school, going back to your original question, Ed, right? How do we balance their time, right? Right before I joined, we had an old school scoutmaster where if you had any other extracurricular activities and you can do scouting 52 weeks a year, you're not going to be in this troop. And that's why you don't have troops anymore, right? If you have that kind of, I want to say, mentality towards it. So we had a pretty good policy where, you know, if you, like we had a bunch of people maybe in band or in swimming or whatever, one season where we didn't see them all the time, but they made an effort to show up when they could if they didn't have practice or meets. Or they would try to show up for a weekend camp out, right? If they couldn't make it the whole weekend because they had activities, at least come Friday night and set up, or just stop out Saturday and day just to keep in touch with the troop. And that seems to work pretty well too. And going back to recruiting parents, the biggest thing we found out too, the first thing is you got to find out if it's from a pack you don't know, like we did, find out if that parent was involved in the pack, because they'll almost always volunteer to help out with the troop, right? It's just a continuation on. The other ones, like what we do is we would do a lot of small stuff, right? You just slowly get them in, right? Could you maybe, you know, do something with the wreaths or the popcorn, or we would do fish fries at the church, right? Can you be in charge of this small thing and just bring them in, you know, a little help here and there, right? Can you maybe collect the permission slips for a couple of campouts, right? Because our other person can't do it, and kind of just have them, you know, split up the work as best you can. So, but early on we had a bigger troop too. I think a new parent Sherpa is what we called it at that point, is a good idea. And what we kind of use that for is during troop meetings, I would sit with the newer parents, especially in that first 6 to 9 months, like through the first summer camp, but through the first whole like year cycle of doing things, so they understood stuff. Because like you guys all said, new parents that have never been in Boy Scouts before, there's a lot of confusion, right, as to what happens. And just being able to answer their questions and talk to them, you know, without the filter of their boys and now girls, giving that information, right? Because I have kids, and what they say sometimes isn't what the adult or the leader said. It kind of gets filtered through. So, like some of the big ones that, you know, all of us know that have been in Scouts a long time. I think one of the biggest obstacles to overcome day one is that Scouts are responsible for their own advancements, and they get signed off by the other boys in the troop, not the adults anymore. And that takes, you know, it takes a little bit of time to get through, right? And just having that parent there saying, no, they're doing fine, they're progressing fine, right? And kind of understanding that. So
Well, great, thank you. I think you bring up some good points, and items we're fighting against, or not fighting, but up against, is probably in the last 5 years, sports isn't seasonal anymore. It's year round.
Correct.
And there's such a big commitment that these programs are putting on kids, on traveling and so forth. So, and also the the lawsuits that's going on with BSA, I'm sure has some hesitation with some parents possibly getting involved. So
since it's on TV every 5 minutes.
Right. So that doesn't help the matter.
That doesn't help.
And Ryan, one of the thoughts I have is, I understand commercials are expensive, but you look at social media, very little do we see anything from BSA talking about, at least from my perspective, seeing some promotional stuff about what the BSA offers, whether at the PAC or troop level. And I think it's an opportunity for us to really share what this program can offer these kids. So just a thought. Love to hear from some more of
Could I say something?
Please.
Yeah, my name's Myron Thompson. As some of you guys I know, some of you don't. I am currently serving as a transition chairman for our district, and I sent via email to Nathan 2 forms, one for the troop and one for the PAC, to get information about who the leader is, where they meet, what day they meet, what time they meet. And hopefully I don't know if anybody's gotten that form yet, but if we can get this organized, then we can have a packet that we can pass out to the PACs with all the troops and the information, where they meet, the days they meet, so that if a boy, say for instance on Wednesday, has music lessons Wednesday night, he can't attend a Wednesday night troop, he can go to a troop that meets on Thursday. Also, the PAC information will have not only the Cub Master's name, but the Weeblo leader's name, phone number, and email, so that the troops can take that information and contact troops, PACs in their area to get that information to personally invite the Weeblo's dens to one of their meetings. Now, I don't know if Nathan had a chance to send that out yet, but hopefully that's one of the things that we're trying to do this year to help with the transition, because it's been my experience that most of the boys that most of the troops get come from Cub Scouts. Now there are some troops that are able to get some recruiting from the boy on boy recruiting, but in my experience it's been most of the boys come out of Cub Scouts, and most of the leaders come up with them. So if we can stop losing our Weeblos, we can get them in a troop, I think that will really help not only the boy numbers, but the adult numbers.
Yeah, thanks, Myron. I have not seen that form yet, but I'll double check with Nathan.
Yeah, I sent it to him the day after our district committee meeting. That would have probably been last Wednesday morning I sent it to him, or maybe Thursday, I'm not sure what day.
How does your activity overlap with beascout.org or beascouting.org?
Well, what I'm trying to do is to get the information for our local. BeAScout.org is where people are looking for a troop or a PAC. This is people that are in troops and in PACs that are units that are there, so that we can send to the PACs with the troop meeting information along with contact information. Because then they'll know that, like I say, if a boy is busy on a Wednesday night with, say, music lessons, he can join a troop that meets on Tuesday or a troop that meets on Thursday and still stay in the program.
Great, thank you for sharing. Jennifer, how about what thoughts can you share with us on what you guys are doing?
We've been really fortunate that we've had a number of parents who have, after their sons have eagled, that they've stayed with the troop. They are ones who will join in at the parent meetings as they are able. So they will be kind of elder guides for those of us who perhaps haven't been with the program as long. But we do struggle right now to have additional assistant scoutmasters. And we kind of had this peak with the boys in terms of the number of we have a wonderful number of eagles right now, and then there's a quiet, not as many boys who need to be ranking up, and then there's more boys to follow, but we've got a period of time where we don't have as much more advanced leadership in the boys. So,
and I suppose then going to activities, if you have a smaller group, it becomes a little more challenging logistics. So is it at some point where maybe we team up where, you know, if we have a outing and we have 8 kids and we can do 15, that we just share it with you so that some of the troops that the logistics are challenging to find that outing or running it, that we can partner together during these times. I don't know.
Right now we do have 20 boys, but there are a number of boys who have recently, there's 4 or 5. David, how many of there 4 or 5 who have recently eagled in the last year? So there's just some catching up to do. 4, yeah. So, which is great. But in terms of having, you know, they're 15, 16 as opposed to being 17, 18. So,
sure.
But in terms of recruiting adults, one of the things we've been challenged is to make sure we have more assistant troop leaders, or excuse me. I'm a new troop committee chair.
You'll get the terminology.
Yeah.
Assistant Scoutmasters.
Scoutmasters, yes, thank you, assistant Scoutmasters. So.
Well, thank you for sharing. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle?
I got one for Ryan to put down, maybe for future breakouts for this. Is something Jennifer just said that reminded me, and I don't want to derail tonight's discussion. She said if you start, or somebody else said, if you start doing joint camping with other troops, we tried to do that in the past. That becomes a whole different challenge that I don't want to degrade tonight's conversation into. If anybody's ever tried it, you'll know what I'm talking about, because it's expectations and the way different things run. But I think in the future, that would be a good breakout topic to have, is camping, you know, weekend outings with other troops. Because I think there's a whole set of challenges with that too, that how do you really make that work so it becomes a good experience for everybody.
Okay, thanks. I wrote it down.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Michelle, your
Okay.
thoughts?
Yeah, sorry. So as far as feeding into our troop, we have 2 packs that we usually recruit from that our den chiefs go to. They're very involved with them towards the end of the Weeblo 2 process or AOL process. And they attend a lot of meetings. We invite them to different campouts, even if it's just for the day. Last year we invited them to Fun Weekend, and that was a big success, just for the day though, because our guys kind of earned that. So, and they want to do their thing. And then Klondike, and then we do various recruitment nights or activity nights at their den meetings, and that seems to do pretty well. I agree with, I don't remember who said, but any a parent who was a leader in a previous pack will usually follow through and still want to be involved, so that's definitely helpful. Usually when the scouts come, Fred, our scoutmaster, will, you know, take them, introduce them to the rest of the guys and kind of fit them in. We always do group activity. And then I take the parents in the back as the committee chair, and I kind of tell them, you know, like, a lot of this looks like it's herding wild cats, but it really is working at first. And, you know, it's a boy-led troop. So sometimes you sit back here and go, what is going on? But it really is a process, and it's helping the older boys and the younger boys. And that kind of helps them, because it is confusing, because I feel like Cub Scouts spoon feeds them, whereas we're like, no, back off, parents, everyone back. And, you know, that's hard for them to adjust to. As far as adults, we have great leaders, and I'm biased, but we do have great leaders, everybody in a leadership role. We do have a hard time though with parents sometimes. A lot of them have a lot of comments after the fact, or if we suddenly say we might not be able to do something, then everyone's like, oh, well, I could help and I could help, but yet no one steps up. So that's probably where our weakness is, especially campouts. Sometimes campouts get a little sketchy until the very end that we get enough adults to go with. So
I got a question, Michelle. Do you put any commitments on the parents when they join about we're asking a minimum of doing this, whether an outing or support some fundraising activity?
a few years ago, we did talk about that, like, you know, almost like in other sports or something, either financial commitment or you're going to do so many hours of volunteer work with the troop. When we do fundraisers, I do a lot of the food fundraisers with the boys. We get a ton of parents that want to help. So that's not the problem. It's the other, you know, campouts and stuff like that. But probably 4 years ago, we talked about this, but we kind of tabled it because, and now with costs going up, we don't want to, you know, hurt the families financially. But yeah, I don't know if some other people do that. And what do you do if you make them commit and then they don't? What do you do then? You know.
We just started doing that where basically we require the parents to do some activity. And what we want to do is partner them with someone who has experience, because I think the fear in getting involved, and I learned this in doing Samaritan Purses projects when I was down in New Orleans, is that people are willing to help if they know their time is value added and that there's a benefit. But there's some hesitation sometimes getting involved with the unknown. So by setting up some structure, we have like some SOPs, what we call standard operating procedures, and some of the activities to help them in that process and ease them into doing it, and also have them mentor with someone. And once they do it the first time, they go, oh my gosh, you know, this is easy, and they're more receptive than coming back doing it again. So we'll see how that goes, but that's what we're doing. We have a couple minutes left. Is there somebody else that would like to share before we got to go back to the main room, so to speak?
Well, I don't have something with this discussion, but I do have something quickly for the OA. You want to do that?
Sure.
So we've now had 3 weeks in the last month and a half of new ordeals and brotherhood stuff going on at different camps, and those have been very successful. We've had, I think this last weekend, we had 4 clans, and those were like 7 or 8 participants in each one doing work around the camp. Cleared out brush. Entrance all the way back to the basketball courts is cleared out 10 feet back. So it's looking nice. And we're having a chapter meeting coming up next Wednesday. We've moved it to next Wednesday at 6:30 outside of Greendale Community Church. I'm trying to see if they might let us use part of the inside still. So yeah, that's all I have.
Oh, great. Ryan, I think our time's up, right?
It looks like we've got, well, I think we've got a minute or 2 left, and then it's really just a question of when Nathan, you know, pushes the button, which is similar to the big red button, but this one just blows up our breakout rooms and sends us all back to the main room.
I guess a question I have for some of you, would there be any benefit, Ryan, if this was taped or videoed, that those that are not attending, they would have an opportunity to view this and then see if there's some interest and can respond?
We actually are recording it, yeah. I guess it's worth noting, we record these, and then Nathan, I want to say, posts them on the district page on Three Harbors Council. Does anybody get those in an email? I mean, I know he can't really email out the file because it's a large attachment, but do you all get notices that he's done that, or no?
No.
All right, we'll work on that. Yeah.
Go 1 minute. I have noticed too, I don't know, this is kind of like lately, you talk about important positions for your youth for leadership. And I've watched lately, and I really realized that Den Chief is right up there. Having Den Chiefs or having your boys be Den Chiefs in packs is so valuable. It's so valuable to you and your troop, because they automatically You know, those boys, if they're considering transferring to your troop, they automatically have a friend already, you know, someone that they look up to. So that is, I kind of reevaluated how important that leadership position is. It's very important to be a den chief.
Just out of curiosity, show of hands for those who have video. How many of y'all have den chiefs? How many of y'all have den chiefs? Maybe that would be a worthwhile topic too, is what's a den chief? I mean, I know some of our troops are pretty small, so, you know, we have enough trouble getting a ASPL, but, you know, it's an investment in the future, as you know, Rich.
It is.
All right, you all don't have to leave now, but I'm gonna go over so that the slides are up. But thank you. I'll see you guys on the other side. Oh, hey, Rich.
Hey Ryan,
Hey, Matt.
have you done anything for Wood Badge or no?
What do you mean?
Well, like, you know, my paperwork's been turned in, but have you like done anything like getting your beads or anything?
No, remember you and I were gonna get them together at a
Oh yeah,
round table, but
if those ever happen again in person.
yeah, when those happen, we'll address our beading ceremony, I suppose. So it looks like we're all back. Thanks everybody. I hope I know on the Scouts BSA side where I was, it was a fantastic discussion led by Mr. Rich of Troop 218, and we want to try something a little different. This is something we used to do with index cards, and it's something we're going to try to do with the chat feature in Zoom, and that is, if you would, please type a message over in the chat while we continue, just when you get a chance, of anything you would like to see in future roundtables. And that can be either, if you would, specify, do you want it as a general topic, or do you want it as a breakout topic? So if you guys go there, we'll make a note of them and incorporate them for future roundtables. So this is another reminder, something we really want to emphasize and hype up here, make sure everybody knows about this, and that is the council-wide roundtable is going to be in November. We will not be having a district roundtable next month. Instead, there will be a council-wide roundtable. That'll be Wednesday, November 4th, from 6:30 to 7:45 on Zoom. This is our, so we won't have one then, but we'll take these topics that you guys give us and we will incorporate them in our December roundtable.
Do we have any knowledge of what this agenda is for this roundtable?
I do not. Nathan, do you happen to know?
Can't hear you, buddy.
Sorry, my cat walked across my keyboard and muted my computer, not Zoom.
Oh, blame it on the cat. Okay.
Anyway, there's Truman. I know charter is going to be one of the things that they bring up, but some of those topics are still being finalized. On a separate note, though, I did actually create a survey for topics. I've got a couple that are here, but if you want to add it to a survey instead, I encourage you to fill out the link that I just sent. Otherwise, I'm writing the ones that have come through in the chat box.
Okay. What we're going to do next is a little bit different. We are going to do a soft close with the outdoor code, and then we're going to go over a few announcements. So after we close, if you want to leave and you don't want to sit through some more announcements, you may feel free to do so, but we are going to cover some pretty good information if you want to stick around, and you can ask questions. So, Scout sign, please. As an American, I will do my best to be clean in my outdoor manners, be careful with fire, be considerate in the outdoors, and be conservation minded. Sorry, had to cough there. All right, so continuing on with some announcements. We really want you to look at, actually Heather on the call created a fantastic Facebook page. It is Three Harbors BSA Troop Pack Crew Volunteers. You can look it up on Facebook. Lots of just amazing information is being shared there. Ideas for cub outings. Just today, somebody was asking how, actually Mike Carey from Pack 57 was asking about how we might work on some unit advancement, some of the new rank advancement in Cub Scouts. People have been sharing camping ideas, good spots to go camping both for troops and packs. So this is a really great one. There's also, so find that on Facebook if you're on Facebook and like it. Also, there's the Southern Shores District, our own Facebook page. That's primarily for sharing of information and news. But you also get some great stuff where people hype up things that they've been doing, as well as Advancement does a really nice job of drawing attention to our new Eagles. So Nancy, are you on yet? I know you're going to be late to the call.
All right, I guess not.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and cover her stuff real fast.
Thanks.
So we got a Cub Scout STEM and Nova event on November 14th. Nancy's actually leading that, so I really don't have a lot of information. And I guess they're looking at a possible day on the 5th. For winter events, we're looking at a joint Cub Scout and Scout BSA Klondike. There would be age-appropriate activities for each group. So stay tuned for that. It'll likely be a one-day event, but we are considering the possibility of having a overnight camp Friday night, weather depending. So it's Wisconsin in the winter. So if you're prepared to camp in 3 feet of snow, it may be a fun challenge. Scouting for food, that's going to likely look different going into next year. That'll be information that will come down hopefully in January, what we know that campaign will look like. And for a Pinewood Derby in 2021, we're going to go ahead and try to do that, but the idea is going to be a virtual Pinewood Derby. If you have any questions on activities, you can reach out to Nancy at southernshoresdistrictbsa@gmail.com.
Thanks, Nathan. And if we have 3 feet of snow, that would be fantastic. And we could build Quonset huts, which, by the way, Victor Buendia shared on that Facebook page I mentioned some links to how to build Quonset huts. So if you're not on that Facebook page, you're missing out on a wealth of information. Victor was also going to talk about, and he shared this on that same Facebook page, but Victor was also going to share some ideas about camping and options for outdoor things for cubs. So there's not camping at Haven Woods, but right here in Milwaukee County, we've got the Friends of Weir Nature Center and Haven Woods State Park. It's the only state park in the city of Milwaukee, and it's pretty cool if you haven't been there. It's also a great place to go in the winter and go snowshoeing. There's a number of other really not far sites where you can take your scouts and do either day outings or camping. Mukwonago Park has a number of campsites. It's a county park. There's Richard Bong State Park. It's a restored prairie. It's pretty fantastic looking. Kohler Andre, I'm sure we've all been there, but that's super cool. And then things like you could do a Zoom camp out. You can do that with Cubs or Boy Scouts. Scouts BSA. But we'll share these slides, but there's a very simple agenda here for how someone might do a Zoom camp out. And with that, Heather, would you please speak to advancement?
So just a couple slides here about advancement. Troops, I'm talking to you, Eagle COVID extensions are still continuing through December 31st. if your scout has a legitimate reason COVID has impacted their ability to do their project, hi Michelle, I see you smiling. But so
What? Nothing.
so your scout needs to have a legitimate reason why. It can't just be because I procrastinated, but how has COVID impacted you? And those and certainly we have plenty, and they are real and they do exist. So up to December 31st, I can approve those. And they're only for life scouts. So if you have, oh, say a first class scout who, I recently had a first class scout apply for an extension because of COVID, unfortunately, because he procrastinated a little bit in getting his advancements going before 18. Sorry, I can only approve him for life scouts. That's the current national policy. So if you have problems like that, contact me. I will help you any way I can, but and talk with those parents or those scouts if necessary. And please, please, please keep an eye on gotoscouting.org. In the search bar, this is exactly, please go back for one.
Yep, sorry.
In the search bar, go back into COVID FAQ. That is where you're gonna find all the COVID facts and some of the policies that have been changed during this special time. There's a number of advancement points in there. I went over them last month. I'm not gonna go over them again right now. But they're all listed on scouting.org. And please read those updates because they do impact your youth at the cub and the troop level. So please take a look at those. Go ahead. And then I wanted to take a minute just to talk about some training here because this is a really complicated topic that I'm trying to simplify for all of you. Some of you know this very well, some of you don't know it at all. And it's a little confusing for those of you new to it. So we're off painting.
Heather, it seems like, is Heather breaking up for everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
And I don't even hear you now, Heather.
Talking about scout map.
I'll shoot her a message real quick.
Huh. It's usually everybody else slowing down and I've stayed the same when everything glitches out. It's not that way usually.
So since we have lost Heather, I'm just going to let you guys know that there is a couple of webinars that are coming up. Emails should have been sent on some of them. You can sign up. I'd encourage you to. There's obviously a lot of different things going on with extensions and rank advancement changes. So those would be the areas where you can learn about that, or you can learn more about being an Eagle coach and a mentor, what goes into that and what the expectations are to serve in that capacity, as well as a Life to Eagle training. That's something I actually sat through when I was, 14 years old, learning the ins and outs of what it was going to be required of me to be an Eagle Scout. I'm assuming that's kind of the same thing, having not been through it in a while, but it's a great opportunity for the scouts and the parents that are involved to learn about that process. So Ryan, in Heather's absence, I'd say let's go ahead and move on.
Okay.
She dropped off completely.
Sorry, my slides don't seem to. Is that my last slide, Nathan?
It might be.
That would explain why it's not advancing anymore. Okay. With that, I'll stop sharing. Anybody have anything else they want to bring up for the good of the district, or questions about things? Yeah, Mr.
I have a
Ronsvu.
question. I was going through my JTE for this year and I'm wondering, I don't know if Nathan can answer this or not. Are they adjusting JTE for next year for the fact that COVID's going on?
Yes, I can answer that. Yes, they are.
Okay.
I don't have full details on exactly how yet, but it will be adjusted. That was actually, so we really wanted to pare down the slides and do fewer announcements, and that was one of the, I cut a bunch of mine, but yeah, they are going to adjust for COVID.
Just wondering. So
Yeah, I mean, obviously, service hours in particular are going to be tricky.
okay. All right. Thank you.
Thanks for bringing it up. I mean, if one of us has the question, likely 5 of us has the question. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Thanks to those who commented in the chat about future topics for both breakouts and major, main roundtable.
Ryan, I have one other thing for everybody here. You know, the Riverbend Nature Center, they do a lot of different things, a lot of different merit badges they offer. They have canoes there. They rent out or allow. So it's a great resource. It's right in real close. So if you haven't, check it out, get a hold of them. And they do nature studies, sustainability. There's a lady, she can do that and help your troop or the scouts out. So just something to consider.
And Ed, where is that?
It's in Racine.
Okay. Anything else from anyone? All right. Well, thank you all very much. And remember, no roundtable for the district next month. We will have the all council roundtable. So I look forward to seeing you all there. Have a good week, guys and ladies.
You too.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, Ed. Nathan, I just copied all of the chats and got them. Okay, I've got them, so we're good. I can
Okay.
I can edit them so they look better.
Okay, I was kind of scribbling them down as we went. I actually liked that format. I know Heather just said she didn't like it, but
Which
every
format?
time to promote things that are current, telling people they can leave makes no sense.
Oh, well, can't please Heather.
I like her, but she's can be a little.
I find her really challenging to get along with. I try to be positive towards her, but she's always got something to complain about. But whatever. All right. We good?
I think so. I'd like to hear from a couple other people what they thought about flipping it around.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we can get if we get a handful of people say, yeah, I like that, or it didn't matter to me, I'll just throw it back at her and say, hey, this is what we heard.
And if people don't like it, fine, we'll pivot and change. I mean, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I mean that's an easy pivot. But if what got her worked up is, us telling people they can head out if they need, upset her, then we'll just not say that.
Yeah, whatever.
But yeah.
Maybe she, you know what? Maybe she is sensitive because it was her, her time in roundtable was in that part where we said, if you want to go, go. And so maybe she thinks we made light of her contribution or her time on the spotlight, but I don't care.
Yeah, I think, and that can be a conversation. I'm not going to hold you up here too long, but I think maybe the conversation is what's the main point of roundtable, and we do that first.
Yep.
And if the main point of roundtable is to do breakouts, then let's do breakouts first, because some people don't want to stay for announcements. I wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
Like, I read my emails. I'm going to get it from there, and I'm going to go on and make dinner for my family and move on the merry way.
How many people did you happen to see? How many folks dropped off after we said that?
I didn't notice anyone dropping off personally, but I was scribbling notes down as I went.
Well, that's an answer too. We didn't see many. We didn't notice if anybody dropped off. So I guess all your concerns were for nothing.
Yeah.
All right, man. I'm gonna go back to
All right.
work.
Take it easy.
You too. Bye.